Now, the ANC NEC starts its meeting today to adopt the party's organisational reports. That's ahead of the elective conference in December. The reports are said to detail the political, financial and membership status of the party over the past 5 years. The tabling of the Integrity Committee's report on Phala Phala Farm is expected to top the agenda. Over the next few weeks, the party is expected to finalise details of its 55th National Elective Conference, which will be held in Nasrec. Our reporter Aviwe Mtila is in Nasrec and joins us this afternoon. Good afternoon, Aviwe. Quite a very significant meeting this is. It's the first time that members are meeting physically, face-to-face. Perhaps firstly, talk us through the body language as they were all walking in, because quite a lot has been said against each other, even on social media, in some of these digital mediums where they've engaged robustly. How was the body language among members as they went into the meeting?
Good afternoon, Fundo. And a lot is still going to be said at this National Executive Committee meeting, which they're actually delving upon now. It's those final crossing of T's, dotting of the I's, ahead, of course, of that elective conference, which kicks off at the 16th of December. It's the last time that the NEC is going to meet ahead of that conference. And in fact, as you mentioned, it's the first time that they've met in person after, of course, the advent of COVID-19. So it's the first time for them meeting in the last 2 years. Critical issues will be discussed. We do know one of them, of course, the integrity report is one of those that is going to be tabled by the Integrity Committee, which we hear, in fact, that they split in half on a way forward when it comes to that contentious Phala Phala issue. Another that we try to pick up with some of those delegates walking in there is around step aside. And in fact, Nomvula Mokonyana suggested that there are many policy issues that need to be delved upon ahead of the conference itself. But we do know, of course, that report by the Treasurer General Paul Mashatile is going to be tabled here on the state of readiness. We do know just earlier on in the week, it did mention that 85% of the branches have met, sat down for their BGMs and are ready, of course, for the conference in December. But we actually touched on Nomvula Mokonyana on that issue of the integrity report that is, of course, going to touch on the Phala Phala report itself, as well as the step-aside ruling. This is what she had to say there.
There are serious policy issues that are important. We can't select the issue of Phala Phala. We can't select the issue of step aside outside of the broader policy-related matters. What every meeting of the ANC should look at is progress around the implementation of the mandate that we have been given. The mandate is about land. The mandate is about building a non-racial society. The mandate is about building an equal society and promotion of the emancipation of women. The mandate is about building a vibrant and an activist African National Congress.
Just looking at Me Nomvula Mokonyane, with her, she's one that even in the media has spoken out, saying something quite important and controversial, saying the NEC is by far the weakest. The current NEC is by far the weakest. One wonders if they will tackle some of those utterances there, that they're seeing a lot of disbandments. You have the Women's League that has been disbanded, the Veterans League, the Youth League, and they haven't been assisted to regroup as those leagues. So quite a lot to be discussed. Did she perhaps touch on the weakness or the ineffectiveness of the NEC in these 5 years?
Well, she did not shy away from it at all. In fact, she said she's expecting a tongue lashing inside around those very utterances, but she did also make them once more, suggesting that this is the weakest NEC that are not active on the ground, not foot soldiers that are going out in communities just to solve out the problems that those communities have. In fact, she did mention that a lot of these NEC members, while suggesting that some of them make statements outside of the NEC, are bold enough outside of the NEC structure. But when it comes to meetings of the National Executive Committee itself, which is the highest decision-making body in between conferences of the African National Congress, they keep mum in those meetings. So she did once again voice out those concerns. But of course, ahead of the elective conference itself, we do know that it's the Free State province that is yet to hold its elective conference, together with the Western Cape. I did also catch up with the Mkolisi Tukwana from the Free State, who suggested that on the 25th of this month, November, they will be holding that elective conference, saying that the BGMs themselves in the Free State have sat down and they have met that 70% threshold. So the Free State itself will be taking part of the elective conference in December, but they'll hold then their own provincial conference on the 25th of November.
And then beyond this, though, if we look at the financial status, we understand it will also top the agenda, the financial status or health of the party. We know it's been in a precarious position financially. Even now, we were even hearing that there were possibly going to be slots or packages sold to the media. What do we know now pertaining to that option that seems to have been, or at least they have reneged on that particular suggestion of selling slots or packages to the media?
Well, we'll get an extensive briefing on that just around about 12:30 when they break for lunch. We're expecting the Treasurer General Paul Mashatile to once again address the media following his address earlier on in the week. I think it was on Monday. That's where that issue was raised, in fact, by Pulemabe just after that briefing, suggesting that the media might have to also just cough out a bit of money when it comes to the spaces. They're mentioning that at least around 300 media personnel are expected at NASREC during that conference, which kicks off on the 16th to the 20th of December. Mentioning the precarious situation of the African National Congress themselves when it comes to the finances of the party, suggesting that they are the ones that are renting out NASREC. So the media must play their part in, if they want coverage, they then must play their part in coughing out some of what they may need. For example, catering and the like, or additional spaces that they might have. But of course, he did make a bit of a U-turn, speaking to our colleague Sally Burdett just on that day, suggesting that the media misunderstood those utterances. So maybe once more we'll get a clearer understanding and that briefing that's expected at around 12:30 to exactly where the media stands and the finances of the African National Congress, which of course in recent times we know wasn't able to pay some of the salaries of its staff for months on end.